guys, it's Shelly here. Welcome to my channel and thank you for joining me today. On today's video, I just wanted to quickly share with you a white flower or a white tulip color combination. I was trying to color these flowers here in Moonvalley by Trolle, and I really like how they're turning out. And I don't know if you guys remember, I was trying to see if I could avoid doing flowers pink, and for me, going for tulips, I would usually just naturally go for a pink flower. Now I have put hints of pink in there, but predominantly it's not a pink tulip. And yeah, I really like how it's turning out, and I thought I'd share with you guys how I do my white tulips on this particular page. So yeah, hopefully it's something you're interested in. I think we'll be coloring a lot of tulips in the spring season, so it might be handy for you guys if you want to dot in a few different kinds of tulips in your coloring pages. So I'm just going to zoom you guys in, and we're going to color this central tulip right there, just so I can share with you the color combinations and just show you the technique of how I'm doing my tulips. So yeah, let me zoom you in and we'll get started. Okay, so I'm going to try and talk you through it. I don't really have any reasoning behind how I've colored it, other than I just got inspired to color it. So that's the other thing. I started this page, usually I do the backgrounds, as you guys know, first, but on this particular page I was so motivated and so inspired by the idea of doing these tulips that I just got started first on the tulips, and yeah, I'm a bit stuck now about what I'm going to do with the background. If you guys have any ideas, please do let me know. This is pretty much my color scheme. There'll be lots of greens, obviously. I might do these flowers here. I don't want to do pink. I might do purple, purpley blue maybe. Or even orangey yellow might look good with this color combination. So I'll see. But yeah, if you have an idea for the background, let me know. So the first color I'm going in with is white. And you're not going to be able to see it on the screen, but what I do with this is I'm just literally laying it down in areas that I want to have a little bit brighter. I'm not pressing too hard, but it's going to sort of act as a resist when I'm coloring. And if I go over those white areas with a different color, it will just be a bit lighter. I just want it to be a bit brighter in those areas. So at the moment, I'm literally just laying it down a little bit randomly in areas where I think will be a bit brighter, or I want to have it a bit brighter. All right, maybe around here. All right. Now, my methods of coloring anything really, any element, is usually quite simple. So there's not that much explaining to do, but I'll still try and talk you guys through it. So I decided that I'd put little hints of green, because sometimes in flowers, on white flowers especially, you do see some hints of green. And so I thought I'd put that at the base of the petals and go up. Now, at the end of coloring this page, I will be whiting out the petal. Hopefully, depending on what I do for the background, I'll be whiting out the black lines to help it look like a white tulip. So I'm going in with my earth green yellowish, and I'm not putting much pressure at all, but I'm just going in from the base, and I'm just applying it randomly, really. I like this central sort of, it's not really a vein, is it, in a petal, but that central bit being a bit green. Like, I've done that in pretty much all of them. And I'm just literally laying down a bit of the green. I'm not going too far up because I'm going to be adding some lighter greens further up. So I'm just laying down this color a little bit. When it comes to white flowers, I keep changing or developing the way I'm doing my white flowers, because I think when I very first started trying to do white petals, I literally just used grays to do the white petals. But now I try and introduce a little bit of color just to give it a bit of interest in the coloring as well, and not to make the flowers look so flat. So this is May Green, a little bit brighter than the earth green yellowish, and I'm just literally adding it slightly over the earth green and going into my highlight areas. And then I'm literally putting very light pressure, because we don't want the colors to be too dark. And then I'm using light green, and I'm going over a bit of the May green and into my highlight areas just to brighten up those areas of green a little bit. Literally, that's it. We can always add a bit more color later. Now I'm going to go in with slightly darker greens, but I'm going for quite a bright green for me. I don't go for this green that often in my botanics work, but I thought it would work in the flower, and I'm going to be darkening it up a bit. But this is slightly darker, so I'm just putting it in the base of the petals where it sort of is going to be in shadow, because if the light was coming from anywhere from the top, unless the light was coming from the bottom, but usually my light is going to come from the top, these are sort of curved away from the light and in shadow, so that's where I'm going to be putting my darker shades, and behind this petal to help create my 3D effect of each petal. So this petal here for me is further forward, those are sitting behind, so we're going to be creating a shadow just behind this line here to help create that 3D effect. I'm not pulling this color too high. And there we go. Okay, but I'm still going in with an even darker green, and I love this green, chrome oxide green. Look how tiny my pencil is, how loved it is. And again, work in my shadow areas. Light-handed, we don't want to go too dark, otherwise we'll end up with really, really dark greens. So in the shadow, so at the base of the petal, behind that line there, sort of helping with the 3D effect, making these petals look like they're sitting behind this one. So not pulling it too high up, just trying to limit it a bit more to the shadow area, so the base of the petals. Yeah. And I also go in with the grey. Warm grey 5, which is quite dark, but again, shadow areas, just there. And to help with the shadows in the highlight area, so if you see here, there's no color green. I'm not going to pull the warm grey 5 up because it's too dark. So what I do is, just to give a hint of a shadow, I'm going to go in with a warm grey 2, just to create a bit of shadow here. And you can pull it down, that's fine. I just didn't want to pull up the warm grey 5 too high up. We just want a bit of a hint of a shadow there, yeah? And there. And also, those little bits of the petals are bent over, so it's going to create, the sun is going to, or the light is going to hit there, and it's going to create a shadow here. So I'm going to put a bit of grey there. You can always add another color if you want. Right now I'm just laying down my grey. I'll see if I pull another color, but that's quite high up, so I may not have any of these pinks and greens up in that area. So that's why I'm just putting in my grey to give that effect of a shadow. And when you come and cover the black lines with the white Posca or a white gel pen, you might feel you want to darken up your shadow a bit more to emphasize that shadow area, and that's absolutely fine. But at this stage, I'm literally just going to do this. I always do my paint pen work right at the end. Okay, so that's a very slight hint. If you want to, you can, let me try, ever so slightly, very light-handed, literally under that line, just put a little hint of the warm grey 5 to just emphasize that little shadow. I'm very what do you call it, hesitant using such dark grays, because I don't want them to look, the flower to look grey, but I think you can be a little bit freer than I'm being. But like I said, when you come and cover up the black lines with the white pens, you may find at that point you'd feel a bit better to put a bit of a darker shadow. So hopefully that looks quite nice in 3D. All right, and I think I actually like that. So what I'm going to do, ever so slightly, also just add it here while I'm at it, just to emphasize that shadow. It looks a bit better, it looks more 3D. Yeah, there we go. And here, because that bit doesn't look 3D to me, so just a bit of a hint. There we go, that looks better, doesn't it? All right. Now even though I didn't want to use pink in my flowers, this is just little hints of pink, and a very different pink to what I usually use. So I didn't want to leave my, I did that much first when I did my first flower, which was that one, and I was going to leave it at that, but I was like, oh, with all the green leaves, it's just going to look quite boring, and so I needed to add a bit of color to my petals. And so I decided, okay, I'll bring in some pinks. So I've got the burnt carmine, and I'm just going over the green, so in that area it'll just look like a bit of a shadow, which is absolutely fine, and then bring it up a little bit. You can use these lines that Maria Trolle has put into her flowers to help you decide where you want to put color. You can just do it random if you wanted. So I am using the lines somewhat. And this is my darkest, I think, pink, so I'm just limiting it to the bottom areas of the petal. All right. And I like the kind of shadow it's creating when I put the burnt carmine on the green, so you can use that to deepen up those shadow areas. So you can use it in the greens, over the greens as well, if you like that. I like it. I like how it created that little shadow there. All right. And then I go in with the red. Pale Geranium Lake. This is just to brighten up the pinkish areas, because of the burnt carmine is quite a muted color. So this just sort of helps brighten up ever so slightly. Very light-handed. I'm really not using too much pressure, and I'm literally just dotting it around randomly. There we go. And then I'm going in with the rose carmine, and this you can pull up a little bit more if you want to. So I'll just go over and I can pull it up a bit more. Very light-handed again. There we go. I like how these petals look, so that's why I decided to come on here and share it with you guys. All right, then I'm going to go in with a little bit of yellow, just sort of reflect, you know, the idea that there's a reflection from maybe the light source. Again, just to give a bit of interest to the petals. White petals will not look just plain white. They will have shadow areas like the grayish tones. They'll pick up reflections from other elements around it. I don't do super realistic coloring, but I try and put those little hints of it into my coloring if I can. So there we go. So just literally, you can go over the pinks and yellows and just sort of blend them out. Don't cover up the entire petal, because you don't want to lose the highlight area completely. There'll be sun here, so you can put, or light hitting that part of the petal. So you can put hints of it on there, and that's it. And then I go in with my ivory. Make sure your ivory is clean. And I'm literally going to use it to sort of blend these bottom areas a bit. So I'm going over my pinks with it, going over my greens. I was going to say yellow, but yeah, my yellow too. Just going over them and sort of smoothing out your pencil strokes. But with the ivory, You can use a blender pencil if you didn't want to add ivory. I like, when I'm doing white elements, even if it's snow, for example, I tend to put a little bit of ivory in it. I don't know, I feel like it gives a nice effect to a white object. So even with clothing, like a white shirt or something, hints of ivory looks really nice. I'm not covering up the entire petal though, just blending those little bits out. Perfect. And then I go in with my white. Just make sure you don't have any dustings of pencil there, so you don't dirty your petals. Make sure your white pencil is nice and clean. And then just brighten up the area. And this helps, especially on paper like this Maria Trolle book, where the paper is slightly off-white. It's not a perfect white, so it just brightens up certain areas. So I'm just sort of putting it around where I had applied it earlier. Blend out those grey areas into the highlight. I'm pressing quite hard with this. You might be able to see the pencil dusting. And that's it. How does that look? You can add a little bit of your grey if you feel you need to emphasize the shadows a bit. Very simple, isn't it, guys? My colouring is actually quite simple. But yeah, hopefully you like this colour combination. I absolutely loved it, and I liked how it was turning out. Like I said, I started with the first flower, and then I did some leaves around it, and I was like, oh, this looks pretty. And then, yeah, so I thought I'd share it with you guys. So hopefully you guys enjoy this video. Hopefully it gives you some ideas that you can use in your spring colouring. I hope you guys are enjoying your spring colouring and being nice and productive, finding time to relax, finding time for yourself. And yeah, I think I'll be back with you guys again soon. So hopefully you enjoyed that. I'll zoom out a little bit. There we go. I'm really enjoying this page because I love how the flowers are looking, and then all the greens I'm trying to work with to sort of differentiate each green from each other. So I did that leaf there, and then I tried to use a different color combination for the other leaves, and then the stems, and I'm gonna have to think of a different color combination for these little stems, just so that the greens all look a bit different. And then obviously the greens I've used in the flowers are a bit brighter than the rest of the greens behind, so that really helps. But yeah, there we go, guys. So hopefully you enjoyed me sharing with you how I color a white tulip. And if you do follow along, if you do try it out in your coloring, share it with me. I would love to see your spring coloring and see what kind of color combinations you're coming up with, and if you do use it in yours, I'd like to see how you incorporate it in your pages. I'll be back with you guys again soon on another video. So until then, take care, thank you for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.